Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher. Fuck. And this week I am joined,
Good
as per
stuff.
usual, by fucking Barney Metcalf
Yeah.
and Harry Dobson, as per
Nice
usual.
nice intro. That went really well.
But you guys already, just before we started, these two fuckers sneezed. It threw me off
Yeah,
my
but,
game.
but
Hey,
you
don't blame us.
No, that's what I'm gonna do. Threw me off my game. I usually fucking nail it, and you guys screwed me over, so gonna blame you. And this week, we're going for a simple film, one film, before we get to this big behemoth that is going to be the next 3 weeks, by looking at the film 500 Days of Summer, which
It's one of my all-time favorites. It is. Sorry to cut you off there, but I wanted to let the people know this is all-time for me. This film.
Well, you trampled all over what I was gonna. I was gonna go around. I'm gonna say what our history of this film is, but no, just fuck that then. I guess.
Okay, we'll go give the other histories, but it's my history. I should be allowed to tell it.
Yeah, but there's gonna be like an order to it, and you screwed it up.
Do it. I'm sorry. You can do it.
So yeah, we've all seen this. I rewatched it for the purposes of this because this was one of the films that I remember watching when I first was getting into film. This was, alongside 12 Angry Men, The Shining, Pulp Fiction, Silence of the Lambs, Misery, all those kinds of films.
Sorry, I'm just going to pull you up on something. I mean, I'm going to say I think this is a great film, but I feel like it's not quite at that level. It is. I throw it in with that company. Just in terms of impactful films.
Oh, well, impact. Yeah, but I think innovation this film has.
Well, we'll get into that. Sorry, William.
Yeah.
Stop fucking interrupting. Both of you have interrupted me now.
To discuss things.
Yeah, I don't know why this was like one of those films that when I first got into film, I was like, I should watch this, but I did, and I didn't really get it when I first saw it. It's like, yeah, that's alright, and then I rewatched it. And I got a much greater appreciation from it, and I get it. Like, I really got a lot more out of it on the second watch, and I'll sort of go into why I think that is later on. But, I mean, yeah, I think I'm a very big fan of the film as well. I think it's a really great film.
Yeah, I adore it. I believe it stems from sort of my background with growing up with older sisters and really enjoying romantic comedies, whereas this is sort of almost like an anti-romance romantic comedy.
Yeah.
But not just that. Director Mark Webb, as we know, made some of the best Spider-Man films. Did this on a low budget when this was his first sort of feature film coming off the back of like, music videos. So
that's just a lot of filmmakers like that. David Fincher was like that as well. I remember David Fincher started in that as well.
Yeah, and I think what he did with this film was quite good. Not to jump ahead of the gun, but possibly my favorite part of the entire film is at the very beginning before we see anything of anything. It's a black screen, and there's a forewarning saying that this is completely made up and not based on anyone or anything. Any resemblances to characters are just merely coincidence. And then it says, especially you, I can't remember the name, but especially you, this woman. And then just afterwards, it just says, bitch. And it's before you get into the movie, and you're like, oh, you know that this is going to be really sort of different and stylized. And that's what I love about it.
Because I watched this when I was like 14, 15. I don't know when you saw it, Harry, but I know, Barney, you watched it like last year before?
I watched it about, I'd say around maybe a bit over a year ago. Yeah, it was a film I'd always been kind of aware of, just as, this is in terms of, rom-coms, because I grew up watching a few. I don't quite have the same affection that Harry does, but I was aware of its impact on the genre, I guess. So I wasn't rushing to watch it, but it was something that I did want to watch, and I have now.
Mm-hmm. I think this film sort of falls under those sort of niches that I like of like films about breakups, and I put that alongside in like other niches I love, time travel, films about like nuclear war, musicals, that kind of thing. And for some
Yeah.
reason, breakup films really, I get more out of them than films about happy relationships. And I feel
I
like
was
it's
gonna
very
say
indicative of
You're an
me.
anarchist.
all of the romantic comedies, well, all romance films you like end with the characters breaking up.
Which
Bro, you must
well,
love La La Land. Like
oh no, La La Land's
Well,
I hate La La Land's
I was gonna
shite.
say he won't like La La Land because
No, I don't like La La
it
Land
just
at
it
all.
takes off the ending of the Umbrella of Cherbourg, which you do
Yeah,
quite.
and that's a fucking amazing film. But yeah, Eternal Sunshine I quite like. I don't love it as much now, but I do like Eternal Sunshine. Her is in my top 5 of all time, and it's fucking depressing, but it's great. Like I just think films about breakups, that's just so much more interesting.
I like seeing people fall in love with each other, but then I find it interesting to see why they've stopped loving each other.
Yeah,
You know,
that's more
more
compelling than just
interesting than running to an airport and running in front of the plane saying, "Stop! I need to say something. I
yeah,
love
nah,
you the day
that
I
shit
saw
can
you."
fuck off.
Like
Don't
that.
like that at
And
all.
like obviously, yeah, and I love this film for that as well because it's also it comes from the perspective of the deluded nice guy that feels like he deserves to be loved because
Yes.
Yeah.
but not just
I
that, it's
Feels
like
like
he
he
learns so much. He learns like so much, and then at the very end, like this is the girl Summer, which is supposed to be like this is the Summer effect. She has this power over everyone, even though she's an average woman, where it's supposed to like teach him character growth and stuff in relationships. And then at the end of the film, he just goes back to like falling in love with the next woman that smiles at him.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I love
Exactly.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt as well. He was so good in 10 Things I Hate About You growing up. And like I just quite like him as
Yeah.
an actor, so I think he
We've
does a great
covered,
job.
yeah, we've touched on Joseph
goes
Gordon-Levitt,
over.
but when we did Don John a while
I was gonna say
back,
Don John. Yeah.
and that's also a really great film.
No, I
Um,
was say that's another film with Joseph Gordon-Levitt that's looking at kind of the less,
yeah.
happy relationships.
Yeah. I like. I mean, I guess as we're talking about it now, I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I don't think he's like the greatest actor, but I think he works for what he is. I don't think I've ever seen him where I didn't think he was giving a good performance.
Yeah, he's reliable.
He's a reliable actor. You're not gonna get anything amazing out of it, but you're gonna get a good performance.
I mean,
And
Tends to be
I
a solid
I
acting, yeah.
watched 50-50 for the first time the
oh
other
yeah,
day.
he's really great in 50-50 as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is probably his best work.
Yeah. I really there were parts of this film. There was the occasional moment where I'm like, that's a bit too relatable. Like it wasn't like it's not like I fall in love all the time because I don't. But there were like certain moments where he just does something or says something I'm like, oh, I've definitely done that before and I don't like that. Like
It hits
it
home.
hits too close where I'm like, okay, I don't like that
I'm
I
in this
got
film and I don't like it.
yeah, but I think that's interesting though to watch a film and basically have all the shitty things about you just been like, see, look at all this, I think that's interesting to have the shitty things that you do
And
reflected and show negatively and then sort of reevaluate you like and I was just like I probably shouldn't be like I don't think he's an aspirational character like at all. Like I know a lot of people I know he's one of those characters that people misinterpreted
yeah.
like, oh, I'm just like him, and I'm like, that's not a good thing. Like I'm very acutely aware that the parts of myself that I relate to in the film are not good. you know?
I think from a filmmaking perspective as well, like it really helps with the narrative of the way it jumps from like day 11 to day 250 to day 14 to like it
The
cuts back and forth
non-linear
to
yeah.
juxtapose this non-linear sort of, but it juxtaposes the feelings in that particular moment, so it'll show
Yeah.
day 270 and he's depressed, but day 15 and he's talking about how in love he is with her. and it's like
Yeah.
it's really, I think that's really clever, especially with a lot of the editing techniques and post production on this is done really well, and it adds to the narrative sort of hinges on those qualities. I'm glad it is very non-linear, but yeah, it is very much this anti rom-com that people have like disguised as this rom-com because Zoe Deschanel and
Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
and yeah, and it's
Quirky.
that, and this film doesn't like it doesn't not have its faults, because what it's done culturally is allow every fucking woman to think they're different for liking the Smiths. The Smiths are shit. They're okay, but it's like, get over it. Like,
That's
oh
my
my,
reliable bit of the film.
I'm
When it's
like, oh,
the Smiths, I'm like, yeah, the Smith.
yeah, but it's now like like, and not just women, but every person you meet now goes like, oh my god, you like the Smiths? They're so indie, and it's like, oh, I want to fucking die
I got into the Smiths when Panic was
before they were cool.
No, I wouldn't say that. I did get it from this film.
Yeah, I think this film, is one of those films that people just don't get. Like, people think it's saying one thing, and it's like, it's not. Like, if you like, I'm like, I don't think a film needs to be to sort of. I don't think you should have to like a film needs to explain what it's doing. Like, just be like, this is what we mean. You know, I don't think they should do that. I just think it's unfortunate that so many people are fucking stupid and don't get it. But this goes beyond 500 Days of Summer. This goes to Fight Club, you know, American Psycho, you know, all, you know, films, American Beauty, you know, all these kinds of films. That's
American Psycho is a weird one where I'm like, hang on. That's one where
Wolf
I
of Wall Street is also another
get
one.
what people are misreading in it.
Oh
Exactly,
yeah,
because
I get it though. I get it though. He does kind of like, obviously he's a psycho killer, but he gives off like Giga Chad vibes. But I think that's more that's less. I think it's more because of the faces he pulls and like the like what he wears and how Christian Bale just sort of looks.
and how he's getting laid every night, and guys are like, oh, I wish I could be like that.
I mean,
yeah, and it's the same with Fight Club, where they're like, "Oh, it's so manly," and it's like, what, being schizophrenic? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know, wanting to be like Patrick Bateman isn't misreading the film like it is.
I think some people might think he's. I think some people
look
think
up to
he's
him.
Yeah, and same with Jordan Belfort and Wolf of Wall Street, Tyler Durden, Fight Club. Even though
the film is with
very
American Psycho, it's not misreading what the film is saying.
It's just
like, ultimately isn't saying anything. It's just people are, you know, they're misreading the character, but not the film overall.
But so yeah, Zoe Deschanel, she's all right. I kind of feel like her character isn't quite developed enough for me.
Oh, it's very bland. Yeah,
I mean, I always kind of read that as being the point that she's not really got.
I get that. Because I mean, it is Joseph Gordon-Levitt's story. It's about him. He is the protagonist. I think the rest of the cast around him aren't like doing anything particularly outstanding.
Hey, it's got the girl from Kick-Ass. It's very much a product of, it's like when you watch this, you're like, yeah, late 2000s.
Yeah, but I think this is again one of those films where the other sort of like a film like Whiplash, I guess, where where the most of the supporting characters aren't really that developed, but they don't need to be because it's just about like this one guy. Well, in Whiplash case, two guys, but I think like I don't know, I don't mind that necessarily. I think it just like could be done better. Like, I don't know, it just felt a bit the rest of the cast I could do without, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, they could be played by anybody, and I don't think it matters.
I mean, I think that can kind of be said for everyone in the film.
Yeah, I think you could, like, Clark Gregg, like, what's he doing? He's not doing anything.
What's his Zoe Deschanel? I don't fucking know. What's she doing these days, eh?
She was in New Girl for a really long time.
Yeah, but New Girl ended about 5 years ago.
Yeah, it ended
but it's still quite popular. She was in Bridge to Terabithia. She played a teacher in that.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't remember that.
But I remember because I was like, wow, she's very attractive when I was watching it. And then I
What?
was like, oh, because I thought she looked like Katy Perry the first time I saw her, and then I was like, oh, and then yeah, I saw her in 500 Days of Summer, and I was like, oh, she's actually like a good, very, very. She's more talented than people give her credit for, because I think she might get the pass of sometimes just being sort of that actress that sort of looks like Katy Perry.
That much like Katy Perry.
That's how a lot of my mates. No, but I know that's why I'm saying sort of. Like a lot of my mates, just especially don't watch films.
Actually,
So
no.
like, oh
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
that's the girl that sort of looks like Katy Perry. And I'm
See,
like,
sorry,
yeah.
can I just say, I was just looking at Zoe Deschanel's like IMDb, and she's in a Katy Perry music video, and her role is wrong Katy Perry. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you
that's
go.
Yeah. Yeah, and fucking, have you ever seen the music video that Ed Sheeran Lego House music video? It's Rupert Grint. Fucking Ron from Harry Potter plays Ed Sheeran in an Ed Sheeran music video.
500 Days of Summer cast. Besides Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who cares really? Like
I
don't
care.
like.
It's got the girl from Kick-Ass. No, I'm sorry. I've said that twice now. But
What's
yeah,
her name?
the
What's her
I
name,
don't
Harry?
know. I don't
Fucking
know. I can't remember.
You're gonna get Harry cancelled.
Are
yeah.
you? I don't know. I couldn't tell you half of the supporting cast's names. Like it's just I don't care too much about the actors as much as I do about the characters within the film.
Okay, that's fine.
I guess
And
that makes
there's
sense,
a scene where they're playing Wii tennis, and I'm like, oh.
yeah.
Every
Dude,
time I watch
Wii
it, it
Tennis
brings me
was
back
my
to this pocket
shit.
of time. It opens with this sort of like narration, almost this like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory narration, where it's like it's the story of boy
I
meets
was not
girl. You know what I
expecting.
mean? But it's got that
Mm.
similar like essence to it, where and sounds sort of the same. But it's like, yeah, it's a story of boy meets girl, but it is not a love story. And then it shows clips of them as kids, which I think is very
Yeah.
cool. It has a bit of the
I liked
backstory.
that. I liked the open like narration in general. Like I often find narration really annoying because it's kind of just like really you just had to have a voiceover narration to explain this stuff instead of just making it more clear. Like I find narration in theory to be quite lazy because it's
Yeah.
like we did like Blade Runner has narration, you know, and they were like, oh, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Shit, what do we do, you know? But I don't mind it here. I think, and it's sporadic enough where it doesn't bother me in this, and
Yeah,
I do
it's
kind
got
of
it's got a charm.
yeah, and I do like the opening and where it's like, oh, he misinterpreted the
I
end of The
mean,
Graduate, and I'm like,
uh,
yeah, that sounds about
Yeah.
right. Which is
Yeah, it's
also another
also
great film. Graduate is an
it's
amazing
also
film.
really good because they both come from like, I think the core characters, which is like Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zoe Deschanel, they both
Yeah.
sort of come from like similar esque. Like they're both of their parents didn't end up
Hmm.
together, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I think, is a representation of much more traditional mindsets, whereas Zoe
Yeah.
at the time was much more of a progressive. Like, we're young, we're in the city. Like,
Mhm.
why do we
Yeah.
have
No.
to? Why not just have fun? Why I don't want to be anyone's
Exactly. Yeah.
anything. And Joseph's
I.
going all
Yeah.
about love and this and that. And
Mm.
then, but the start of the
Yeah.
film, which I think is the charm to the film so much. I enjoy like, this is why I love it. The start of it is
Hmm.
towards the end of the 500 days. I can't remember the exact day, and he's just
Hmm.
standing in the kitchen breaking plates, just staring at the window, smashing plates,
Yeah,
and
and
I'm
his
like,
friends. It's like his friends are over or something, and he's just like breaking plates. And I
but they're
yeah,
like, oh,
I
it's
this
this
film's
all over
really funny
again.
at times. There's some really great bits of comedy that I really like.
But I like how they're like, oh, it's this woman all over again, and it's like, oh, so he's done this before, where he's just stood in the kitchen breaking plates. Like, this
Yeah,
isn't like
like, like,
it tells us a lot about the character instantly. Like,
yeah,
he's just sort of hopeless, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's like, no, he's like a hopeless romantic or whatever. But
yeah.
in the current world, it's just not the way it works. Like,
Hmm. I I've read a lot of things like where people blame Summer for a lot of things. And I'm like, I think they are both in the wrong. Like, I do not think.
so they're both
Yeah,
mutually toxic.
exactly. It's I
yeah,
because you can never like because I'm always just like, no, I think both people are pretty shit to be honest. And I think a lot of people
Yeah,
miss the point. It's like she makes her what she wants very clear. Like she basically says, "I don't want to be like dating." You know, like that
yeah,
is very abundantly clear. And fucking whatever Joseph Gordon-Levitt's are like, nah, fuck that way. You know, and it's just like, I mean, they're both in the wrong. They're both not good people for each other. And I
yeah,
think
yeah,
Tom is his name, and Summer, of course, is how
yeah.
they say so.
Summer.
Yeah, so, yeah. They're both bad, not bad people. They are not right for
They're
each other.
bad for each
Yeah,
other.
and I think a lot of people don't get that, and I think, like, yeah, I think it's very interesting just the discourse around it. And you see, and I see a lot of stuff where people are, you know, getting upset at women for doing shit, and people are getting upset at men for doing shit. I'm just like, you guys are all wrong. Like people are just shit. All right, we like I think people just want to look at things in a black and white way, you know, and people are just like, oh, you know, places like Instagram and stuff. There's anything about like a man and a woman in a relationship, and anytime people just like, oh god, leave her, dude. Oh, she did this thing. Ugh, you know, and it's just like, fuck off. You don't get it. Like, I'm not saying I get it because like I don't have that much experience, but I'm like, I think people are fucking complex. You can't just like you know, you can't just say this, you know, and I think people don't
Yeah,
get that. I think
I
emotionally immature fucking idiots don't get that. I mean, I don't know if I'm the most mature, but I get that like people are very difficult to understand. You know, there's not just a you know, I'm not gonna just look at someone and think they're you know, I mean some people kind of are. But I think in general it's you can't just say I'm going on a point, and I'm not even entirely sure what my point is, but like people are complex, and you can't just
you can't judge
sort
them on a
of
certain rhetoric. Like there
yeah.
isn't a relationship
Then people
template that
aren't black and
everyone
white,
fits into.
you know.
It's just yeah, it's not how it works. There's no template that everyone just fits
Yeah,
into.
like we all do.
And
Yeah, we
whereas
do good things, we do bad things, you know, to varying degrees in both cases. You know, we're not, and so yeah, just like I don't automatically rule someone out as a bad person because of their
yeah,
race or their gender or their political leaning or anything like that. Because why would I do that? Because I know people who. I've got friends who are religious, and I think religion is bullshit. But I'm friends with
yeah,
religious people, and and they're great friends, you know. So I think it's beyond just like people who you know, because I'm friends with people who are very different to me, you know. I think I don't automatically assume someone is a bad person for, you know, where they're
whatever they
from.
present.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
How
Well,
they
whatever
think
they
about things that, you
it's
know.
judging a book by its cover, which is a lot of
Yeah.
this film, like which is what this film really touches on. I mean, both characters do.
Mm,
I think the biggest issue with both characters, from just particularly a relationship standpoint, is they both overcommit, whereas it's
mm,
just about time. Whereas Summer, the character of Summer, said that she
yeah.
didn't want to commit at all in the first place.
Yeah.
Where it was like too late for fucking Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character as he was in love, Tom. So
Yeah.
like he just like was like, "Oh, I'm in love," or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's jumped in the deep end from the start. But
Exactly.
and that's an issue. But I think she also sort of like I think with her characters, she committed too much for what she said she was going to, and he's like, "Oh, you
Mhm.
led me on," and it's like, "Well, you were already led on from the very beginning. That's sort of
Yeah,
on
he
you."
he made up
But
his
but like,
mind before they had even talked.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, which is like not a good thing, obviously.
no,
But
I
it's
don't. I think like I can't think of a time where I've sort of fallen in love, quote unquote. I've always been like, oh, they seem nice or they're good looking, whatever. But I never am like, that's just it. You know, I never go beyond that. You know, I never am like, oh, what if we had a life together? You
it's
know,
genuinely rare nowadays. Like it is
yeah.
rare. I'll go on not to flirt, no, but I'll go on dates or I'll meet people and go to uni bars and stuff. But it's never the problem with especially today is we value our own company and our own time so much.
Hmm.
So to allow
Yeah.
someone else into that and to be a part of like who you are is a
Mhm.
lot of work and can be a lot more
Yeah.
hassle than it may be worth. And that's the
Yeah.
whole character of Summer. She just said, like, that's the point. It's like, I don't want to be anyone's anything. That's a lot more
Yeah.
responsibility when she's young and have fun and wait for that responsibility and that hard work until later in life.
Yeah. I think I think I do sort of imagine like I never go if I okay to sort of go back to the point I made it like I do think about like what could happen, you know, I sort of think about scenarios, but I never go to like I never am automatically like this is the person for me forever. I'm just like what if insert, you know, what if this happened, you know, or what if this happened,
Yeah.
but if it doesn't go too far, and I think that's relatively normal. And it's not just even beyond like romantic things. It's just things in general. I'm just like, what if I did this today? Or what if I talked to this person today? What if I went to see this film today? You know, what if I, you know, all these things. I'm like, what could happen? You know, in my own head. And of course, that never happens if I end up doing those things because that's just it's not easy to predict. And Harry, we've been talking for a while. Barney hasn't said anything in ages, so we should probably let him say something.
I've just been letting you guys do your
Because
thing.
he's a single loner. Loser. L for loser.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, Barney. Um, no, but it's very
Boom!
interesting.
Roasted. Fucking got
W-
him.
we
Fucking
come
got
from
him.
a very sort of younger generation and a
Been made
younger
'em.
mindset. Yeah, I think I'm a big believer in the idea of marriage, but more like at the same time, I'm like, like it's weird because I believe in the idea of marriage, obviously, and this movie touches like this film does open with him holding her hand with a ring on it, and then cuts to him breaking plates, but it's like which is good subversion, but it does touch on the idea of marriage and commitment to other people. And I do believe in the idea of being able to celebrate your love in a big ceremony. It's very beautiful.
Nah,
But I
nah,
think like
I
when you
don't.
get into like the legalities of it, it's not yeah,
Nah,
I
I
don't know.
think it's
You don't you wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want to have like a big event where everyone and it's just sort of about you two and it's how much you love each other because you do and how much you're willing to commit. Or are you just a player? I feel like you're just a player. You're a little man whore, William. You just run the city, keep all the girls to yourself. I see how it is.
yeah, just going out every night. You know, every
No, but
Getting as you call them.
I do understand the whole idea of marriage. I just think it's
nah. I just think it's very like the idea of it feels very. It feels like dated. I guess. Like I just don't. It's not.
Well, yeah, that's what happens.
people go on
People
dates.
get married after they've
Yeah.
dated.
Fuck you.
Yeah,
I
that
just.
is
It's
true.
just not something I like. I don't know. Like
Yeah, no, that's fully fine because it obviously up to both people, and that's the character of you're, if anything, at the moment showing more of the character of like say Summer, who said they never wanted to get married, and yeah, they did get married, but it's
and
they
then she
found the
did
right
get married.
person,
Yeah.
and she says, "Oh, it's just the right person," and it's like, fuck, the way she talks to him, like she does say shit that would be like that is just rough to hear, and like you
Yeah.
should think smarter before you say that. Like, you're still my best friend. That's so rough to hear. Like that's so rough to hear for him, and like, but at the same time, it's you
And it's
kind
kind
of
of
did
his fault
he
too,
dug
though.
his own hole though.
Yeah,
Like,
it's kind of his own fault as well. Not not
but
not like victim blaming. But it is kind of his fault because she did make it clear, and I think yeah, both parties are wrong.
But
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's very interesting that a lot of people identify with his character when he's clearly troubled.
it's slightly concerning.
But they're both like I feel like his character can be nice. Like the idea of like, oh, he grew up on like rom coms and misread the fucking um what
Graduate.
film? Yeah, Graduate. And it is kind of nice and sweet how he has this sort of like idea. It just also you're completely not reading the fact that he's toxic and like is completely
Yeah, I
blindsided by
mean
this
the
ideology. You
ending
can
of
have
the
the idea of
yeah
love and romance, just be smart about it. Don't fucking
yeah. I
pressure
mean the
people
end
into
of the
situations.
graduate.
You know.
They both look at each other like fuck. What do we do now? Like they both realize like oh
What now?
shit. what have we done? You know, that's the whole ending of that film was them just like looking at each other like, hmm, what do we do? You know, and I think, but I think a lot of people misread that. I think a lot of people, just in general, I think people misread rom coms and films about romance. You know, I mean, Don John deals with that. You know, Scarlett Johansson's character in that, she very much misreads rom coms and what they're saying, and well, not misreads them, but she doesn't misread them per se. She more just assumes that's how guys should be. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
similar how
should I say warp
yeah, how
reality
Don
in our
John
minds.
thinks porn is how sex is when it's
Mm.
not. Um, yeah. One of my favorite, maybe my favorite scene in 500 Days of Summer is the dance number. After
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
wait, it
we're
it's
after that is the best ever in any film because it
yeah, no,
just
it's
it was.
breaks out into dance and it's
yeah,
so great.
and
But I won't.
it's such a great scene though because it's like yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense actually. You know, I
Yeah, I like that more than most rom-coms. They make an effort to make this film like visually interesting
yeah, exactly. It's
and
not just like
bring in little things. And yeah,
we're just
just
gonna
a
have a
random
fucking
dance number.
dance number, you know, partway through this, even though it doesn't make any sense. No, not it does make sense, but like it's not happening. It's all in it. Yeah, I really
but that's
like that.
also a reference to other rom-coms, like the idea that like oh he finally sleeps with her and stuff is like so big in rom-coms where it's just like oh we're gonna play this up as big as possible. We'll have
Yeah,
him break out into dance and
yeah. Well,
like
and if it's a musical, it'd be a song, you know. Get
yeah,
that
where it's
musical
like
flair as well.
where it's like, oh yeah, a lot of guys will think that this how because a lot of the film sort of hinges on the idea that people's realities are warped by the media they consume and what they believe that like love and life should be. And
Mm.
he's like, oh yeah, after he finally gets laid with the girl that he fell in love with, it's like, yeah, why wouldn't you break out into dance and have the entire like fucking parks dance along with you? Like that's real life. Like, what do you mean? I love this
Yeah.
film so much. It's those stylizations. It's the editing of like. There's a scene further on where he goes to like is it the engagement party or whatever, and it's
Mm.
expectation and reality, and it's like the whole
Oh,
film is
I
set up.
love that so much. That's again another great scene, you know, and I kind of get like that, but not to that level. I don't think I'm just like, oh, this is how I assume it will go, and then it goes different. I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense because expectation is not reality, and I do really like that as well. The way it sort of, yeah, goes around and
It's so
yeah,
stylized. I love it. I love how those are the quirks that make me love this film. It's what sets it apart from all these other sort of romantic comedies as well. Is it? I don't know. I understand why they gave Mark Webb the Spider-Man contract. That's all I'm saying. Like,
but those films are not very stylized at all. They're very
I
dull and
know, but
which is it feels like a missed opportunity. I feel
I feel
like.
like because this film feels very indie. Like it has this indie feel to it.
Well, yeah, it
Whereas I
basically
think that
was.
that's what they're trying to go for with Spider-Man was that angsty indie. And we're not talking about Spider-Man. We're talking about Mark Webb. But he has this very stylized sort of way of like directing, and a lot of directors do. Tarantino has this very like you can almost tell a film by just watching it who's directed it.
With some people,
Like
yeah, you can definitely tell.
yeah, yeah, with some like Tarantino, I
I
believe you
I don't
can
think Mark Webb.
I don't believe with the Spider-Man films you could with Mark Webb, but
No, they feel
like
very corporate.
yeah, but I feel like that's a lot of like Avi Arad,
Well,
which is a
yeah, I think that's
guy
more
I
just
hate with my
yeah.
whole soul, and I don't want to get into.
I mean,
But
that's just it's. I think with superhero films in general, you do sort of lose out on a director's style. You know, like I think like with like Taika Waititi did have his style with Thor
Ragnarok, yeah, but I think that it has
and
style, but I
James
feel like
Gunn.
yeah, yeah, but even then, is it really their style? Like you watch Thor Ragnarok and then you watch Boy, and you're like,
Yeah, well, he made. I mean, Taika started. I mean, a lot of directors start with very low
There's a
budget films.
Thor Ragnarok, but the overall direction isn't
Yeah,
particularly.
the comedy is very Taika esque, but
yeah,
the way it's put together as a film isn't real. And I mean, I think that's sort of what Guardians of the Galaxy was missing with James Gunn, is it wasn't quite. like now that I've because I rewatched them for the podcast, and I've seen James Gunn's other work. I'm like, these films feel like a James Gunn film, but the Guardians films are like a neutered version of that. I'd say.
Yeah.
I'd say by the time Guardians 3 rolls around, that feels very James Gunn.
Yeah, well, it's probably because he was allowed to do what he wanted with that.
Yeah, he had more street
Yeah,
cred and
he'd
clout.
Yeah.
done two already, and like, just do what you want. We fired you, but so we're gonna let you do what you
It
want.
was his last
Yeah,
one.
you're gonna leave us. So,
Yeah, but yeah, so there is this like I keep saying the word stylization, but I don't know how to put it. It's the editing of expectation versus reality. It's the swipe fucking transition. It's the start of the film where it says bitch. It's the way it cuts between moment to moment
yeah,
and the way certain frames are put where it's like it almost feels like someone just edited it on their own DaVinci Resolve in their bedroom and made like a little like short film. It does. That's what it feels like. And I
Mhm.
watch it and I'm like, oh, I love it. I love it to like with all of my soul. I love it because it creates this that not only is it sort of that genre and that like it's got a genre of familiarity and this sort of idea that like it's very relatable in moments.
Mhm.
It's very much human experience esque. It's not gory or horror or this or that. It's just overtly sort of. It's a very nice film to watch.
Yeah, it's
Um,
there's a lot of also it's a nice 90-minute film, which I appreciate. I
yeah,
like that it's not dragged out
Yeah,
for 2 hours. It's like we got 90 minutes and that's and it tells the whole story in 90 minutes. And that's fine. I don't like films that are arbitrarily long. Because I think they need to be. I honestly, if every film was like 90 to 100 minutes, I would be happy because they could probably all be told in that time. Like I do actually believe that. That is my like I honestly think most films I watch, they're too long. Like I can love a film but be like, yeah, that's long. That's a bit longer than it needed to be. And I don't and that's valid criticism. We've talked about this before, but films being too long is like perfectly valid criticism. Like it's
oh yeah,
absolutely.
100%. I don't have to watch a 2.5 hour Jurassic World movie. Like,
yeah.
give it to me in an hour. Like, I don't. The
Yeah.
second one, whatever the second Jurassic World movie was, I was like, this went on for at least an hour longer than it had to. I'm like, oh
Mm,
my god, I
yeah,
just
I
like just
mean
let me see. Honestly, Jurassic World. I know we're not talking about it. It's such an easy format. Just do dinosaurs, conflict, go. We want to see cool dinosaurs and cool conflict and dinosaurs fighting other dinosaurs. That's all that
mhm.
people want to watch. And I think they got that with the third one, but the third one was terrible.
No, yeah, and I think a lot of, I mean, Barney, we've talked about this before as well. That films just shouldn't be as long as they are most of the time. Like films are just,
Most of the
and again, I've talked to many people who are,
time. But filmmakers need to behave
yeah,
themselves.
and I've talked to many people like films don't have to justify their length, and I'm like, fucking, what do you mean?
Yes, they
What
do.
is the point then? Films about romance, why are romance films so long? Like, I don't get it. Like, I feel like a lot of them are longer than they should be, and I'm just
What do you
like, just
mean?
like 90 minutes I think is the reason. Like there are certain films that should be like 90 minutes. Comedies should be 90 minutes. Animated films should be 90 minutes. I feel like rom-coms should be like 90 minutes. Like
Yeah,
within
they're kind
that
of comedies.
ballpark. I within that ballpark they should be around 90 to 100 minutes. My point is with 500 Days of Summer, it breezes by. It's like nice 90 minutes. It moves at a quick pace, I'm never bored while watching it, which I think is very because and I don't know if this says something about me, but I do find myself even in 90-minute films, I do get occasionally bored. But I think it's depending on like the Vivitch. Robert Eggers, Vivitch is like, I got bored during that, and I'm like, this is 90 minutes, but I'm bored. Like, what are you
It was
doing,
like
Eggers?
Indiana Jones. I got bored. I was like,
Fuck
I
off.
know you're gonna be like, oh, angry, but like, I got bored, and I think it's
I mean,
because
that is
like,
like a
if you're not
2-hour film,
if
though.
you're not interested in the narrative and it's
I
not
mean,
telling
yeah,
an interesting story, then why would you?
yeah. I think. I mean that's part of it too. As long as I need to be interested in what's happening, and if I don't have something to connect to in any way, whether it's the character, whether it's not, I just need something to connect to in this film. I need to latch on to something and be like, okay, I'm invested in this. And I think some films, don't really get that. and thus they suffer for it. Because I think a film needs to have something to latch me onto. I don't like purposely boring movies, because what's the point of that? Like, I don't want to watch that. I don't like arbitrary length. That's dumb. But I think this film, it moves at a quick pace, and yeah, we talk about the non-linear structure. I'm fine with that. I know that could annoy people, but I like that it's sort of bookmarked. Like, here's whatever day it is, And another one of my favorite bits is when Joseph Gordon-Levitt, where Tom is talking about all the things he loves about summer, and then it cuts to later, and he's complaining about those same things that he said he loved. I'm like, yeah, I think that works. I think that works as a great sort of comedic scene. It's quite funny, this film. I found it quite relatively humorous is the word to say.
Yeah. No, I feel
Yeah.
as if like this film, I can't not suck it off. Like, far out. I love this film so much. I think it's the perfect length. You sit there, you watch it, and it's cozy.
Yeah.
You can be in bed. There's not a moment where I'm like, this film doesn't work for me. It's really funny. It like
Mm-hmm.
I think the supporting cut, like the language that they use in this film is very much like an error of the time. There's a scene where when she's first in the office, maybe he's known her for a couple of days, and
Yeah.
he's sitting there with his like workmate, and he's like, "Oh, I heard she's a bitch." Like
Yeah.
some guy tried to have a go at
So,
her in the copy room, and she wasn't having a piece of it. And then the guy was like, and then Joseph Gordon-Levitt was like, maybe she just wanted to be left alone, and like, and then he's
mm,
just like, no, because I heard this, and this. And then he's just like, oh, well,
mm,
fuck that uppity bitch if she wants to be that way, that lesbian bitch. And I'm like, oh my god.
yeah, that's
Sorry, like,
very
and I'm just like, but it's like almost cool to hear because you're like, oh, this is so weird. Like, it's so like,
I
oh,
feel
I
like,
like it.
yeah, but I think the dialogue feels genuine though. It's not some like sanitized bullshit. Like, it's like, no,
Yeah,
some people talk like this. They're shitty people, but they talk like
yeah.
this.
After
I mean,
karaoke, he asks her if she's single, and
yeah.
then his mate asks her if she's single, and she's like, yeah. And then she's like, why? And it's like, I like being single. Oh, so you're a lesbian? And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, I think part of the problem with rom-coms in general is the characters don't talk like real people,
Yeah,
you know? I think that's part of the problem.
I mean, that's true for a lot of films.
Well, yeah, but I think some films it's almost okay. Like if you're doing like a sci-fi film, I don't need the characters to talk like how we talk as people because it's not based in reality. I think films that take place sort of during a contemporary, 21st century time, eh, like you need to like 50 Shades of Grey, for example, which I've suffered through two of for this show, and I will suffer through the third one next year. They don't talk like real people in that. Like it's just I mean, to be fair, the writer
yeah,
herself is pretty shit. But I really like that 500 Days Summer they talk like actual people that could exist. Yeah, there's just lots of scenes there's just lots of really great scenes in it. Yeah, the elevator scene where they sort of first talk, I think that's a really nice moment before it all goes down the shitter. And it's
yeah.
just
It's like,
like,
oh, the Smiths. I love the Smiths. To die with
yeah.
you is the wonderful way to die. And I'm like, oh, they ruined the Smiths. But I'm like, but yeah, I think this film does a really good job of showing the decay of the relationship realistically. I think the idea that
Yeah.
like he's just trying to cling on and keep that spark alive, and then as
Hmm.
soon as she breaks up with him, even though they both look miserable, he
Mm.
it's like although he's been it's like when you buy a brand new toy and you love the toy and it's your favorite thing, and then you don't use it for a really long time, and then as soon as your mum or as soon as like the toy gets thrown away, you get really upset because all you want back is the toy. But it's like, no, you've neglected
Mm.
it.
You want
You
what you
want
can't
what
have.
you can't have. That's 100%. Although I'm not
Yeah.
playing with it, it's mine. And he has this very possessive ideology that, like, she's his because he wanted her
Yeah.
and he got her.
Exactly.
And
It's
then,
very,
even though they don't want to
very
be together
sexist.
anymore, he goes, "Oh, I want to get her back, and I need her
Yeah,
back, and I
he
need
doesn't
this." And
understand boundaries that, like, hey, if a woman says no, fuck off. Like, it shouldn't be difficult to understand, right? But, he's
yeah,
very conditioned. Again, because rom-coms do that. They've got very
yeah,
pursue The Graduate. Again, The Graduate, that's what it is. He's very persistent. Even though
mm,
that's literally the wrong thing to do. Like, if someone says no, regardless of gender, just go, just leave. Like, it's like
yeah,
it's like, and it is interesting how he's just obsessed with this one woman.
yeah,
Since and he's got this very, like, yeah, possessive
yeah.
nature, even though
There's
they're
this,
not together technically, because she doesn't
there's
want to
this,
be put labels on it.
yeah, and there's this level, there's this sort of time in Jim Carrey's career where, I know this sounds like a tangent, but it's not. Trust me. There's this, like, sort of time into Jim Carrey's career where he made these films like Yes Man, which has Zoe Deschanel as the love interest, and Liar
Hmm.
Liar, and I think, one, they don't get nearly as much appreciation as they should. I love both of those films. But he had those sort of films, and especially in Liar Liar, it's they have this idea that the stepdad's the villain almost, and that, oh, the mum and the dad broke up, but they need to get back together to keep a nuclear family, and they need to get back together to, like, he has to win her back and get her children back, even though she's happy and content and going well with the stepfather.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah,
like,
but
and then it's clearly better and less toxic than what she had with the relationship beforehand. Otherwise, they wouldn't have broken up. It's this idea that it's like, no, because he's the villain and I'm the righteous one because I loved her first. It's like
Yeah.
ridiculous to me, and that's what this film does. It has Joseph Gordon-Levitt, sort of his character, go through this idea that he loved her first, and now that he can't be
Yeah.
with her, like,
No
oh,
one else can
how
now.
dare she love someone else when she loved me, but she wouldn't commit to me, and how dare she commit to someone else? It's because he doesn't understand that, like, people change, because he never grew in that relationship. There was no growth for either of them, which a good relationship should have. You should grow together. But
Yeah,
they
you
both
should
stuck
become a
in their
better person
but
because
they
of it.
both stayed in their ideological ways, to the point where, at the
Yeah.
end of the film, even though you think he's learned, he's chatted on the bench seat with her, he's talking about going and being a bloody architect, even though I think the idea of him writing greeting cards is quite funny. Like, today
I
you're a
really like
man. Muzzle
I
tough.
really
Like,
I really, really like that as a he's just writing greeting cards. It's
but
very
yeah,
mm.
yeah, it's so bloody, like, it's
Yeah, the film he doesn't really grow. Like, the
because at the
film
end of the film, it goes all over
sort of,
again.
yeah, exactly. And that arguably, like, I think, films are meant to have, like, a 3-act, like a character arc. That's what you do with
Yeah,
writing. But I think the film kind of works that he doesn't really change or grow in any way. I think that kind of works. Like,
yeah.
because I feel like if he did change, maybe I feel like that might undermine the message of what they're trying to say.
No, and I think also we talked about how I agree. I think as well, we talked about earlier how Summer as a character doesn't feel very defined. But I think that's
Yeah.
really plays into the point, the message of the film, where like, in the start of the film, it's Summer, average height, average age, slightly above average shoe size, average weight. For all intents and purposes, she's just another girl, but
Mhm.
she has this, like, effect where she averages this many double takes, this many this, which I think is a really funny way to introduce your character. But not just that, it's not just different and fun way to introduce, but also she is, for all intents and purposes, a blank, just another girl. But
Yeah.
it's it's so anyone can sort of insert a woman into that slot for them, and it's supposed to be
Yeah.
about like, and not just that, but it's also it is just any other girl, and it's how infatuated he gets with just any other girl is really
Mhm.
like that's the whole idea. Although she's like attractive and pretty or whatever,
Mhm.
like she's just a girl, and the movie literally says that. Like,
Yeah.
but he falls so like obsessed with her and
Mhm.
infatuated, and it's sort of yeah, it's very much that she doesn't have to be defined because she's not. It could be
Mhm.
anyone, and he does this, and he does this, and then at the end of the film, he does it again with a woman called Winter or whatever. But it's like
Awesome.
Autumn, yeah, where like it happens again and again and again. And it's just going to be the story of his life, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's really good because it does a really good job of separating itself from other romantic comedies. I watched recently The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds,
Okay.
and I'm like, oh my god, it does such a like it spends a lot of time like setting up and identifying these two characters, whereas this film doesn't do that at all. The first maybe 5 minutes of the film is just like, well, that's it, and then like it goes from there. And I think it does that job really well, and it comments on other film, like other romantic comedies and other sort of ideas in the genre of how people who watch those films have such a warped idea of what a relationship is, and then people who watch this film now also have a warped idea of what a relationship is because they're completely blinded by all the negatives and just see him as some admirable boy who's in love with a girl and got
Yeah.
his heart
Yeah.
broken,
And
and
you're just like, oh, yeah.
it's
Well,
yeah.
those
I
the nice guys, as it were, who think that or these guys who think that women owe them, relationships or whatever, which
yeah,
the most
which
sad
they
fucking.
do, they do. No. um, but yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot more on this film. It being only a 90-minute film, there's not a crazy amount. Does anyone
Yeah.
know the budget? I believe
Let
it
me.
was only about 5 million, but I could be wrong.
The budget was 7.5 million and it made
Yeah,
60.7 million.
yeah,
So
yeah.
a
So
relatively cheap film made back its money. And
tenfold, yeah,
yeah, exactly, several times over. And that's what you see with these very low budget films is they just make their money back because they cost less than 10 million to make. So you don't need a whole lot necessarily to make the
yeah.
budget back. And I think I just really, really love this film. There's a lot that I really got out of it. I got a lot more out of it on this second watch, and I'm sure the older I get, the more times I
The
watch
more,
it, I'll
yeah,
get more, because I'll have more experience with these sorts of things, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's about right, or whatever, and I'll get more out of it, and I'll just be like, this is, there's more. Um, yeah, I really, I mean, we have kind of touched on everything, really. Like, I don't think there's that.
I'll say I don't have that much to say, and I've been very quiet.
Yeah,
So.
you have. Um,
Actually, no. Before we I guess move on to ratings, I don't like the grammar of the title.
oh, with the brackets
It's
around 500.
500.
So you don't like the brackets around the 500, or? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they're
No, I
there.
don't get why either. Because some versions of it, like when you see it on some places, it doesn't have the brackets, and some sites do have it listed. I don't know
yeah,
why
Yeah,
exactly. It's very strange, but it doesn't bother me. It's
yeah,
I really, I mean, I think that it's a solid title. I usually don't pay much attention to film titles unless
oh
they're
yeah, no, I like the title,
yeah.
phonetically of
You
like
just are like, why
so
is
much,
there
but
brackets there?
yeah, I don't know why they're there. It just annoys me.
Yeah, I mean, is there really much else to say or not
not
really?
really. If I'm gonna move on to my rating and give it a 10, I love this film.
Yeah, I figured. I mean, you said it was in your top 5 of all time, so I very much figured if
Yeah,
it's
give
not
or
a
take. It
10,
depends on the type of day. Definitely top 10.
yeah.
Every film in my top 10, 10 out of 10s. Like to me,
Alright,
anyway.
are you saying something? To you. Okay. Barney, do you want to go next then?
I feel like this will be a film I maybe appreciate more when I get older and I've been in more relationships and stuff. But at the moment I've got it as it's a very strong 8. Could go up.
And I give it a 10. No, not a 10. Fuck. I give it a 9. A very, very strong 9 out of 10.
You had me so excited for a second, William.
It could go up to a 10 on a rewatch. And now that, and I think that's one of the highest rated films on the show. Like, I think that's one of the
because
highest
it's
rated.
so consistently sound. Like,
yeah,
it's so like fundamental. Like, it works so well, but at the same time, I think its peers bring it up. Like, because every film around it in the genre isn't really near a 10, that it brings it so far up to like it really shines a bit more. A rose shines a bit more in a pile of shit, if you know what I mean. It just like, it makes it stand out and it makes it seem really good as well, because it is.
Yeah.
But
So thank you all for listening to this week's episode. A bit of a quicker one this week. This is like an hour long, maybe, if that. But next 3 weeks are going to be very, very big episodes. So look forward to that, because we're going to make up for this being a bit shorter by having the next ones be very long, because they're going to be talking about lots of films. And I'm very excited. Harry's very excited. If Barney's available, I imagine he's excited.
It's going to be long, guys.
But yeah, thank you all so much for listening to this one. And I will see all you guys in the next one. Goodbye.